Hey there. My name is Christy Daniels, and I'm a personal empowerment coach at christydaniels.me. I'm here with an invitation for you if you're a driven woman, a woman who puts a lot of effort into life, a woman who has a side of you who wants to be seen, but also you have that competing side of you that is really wants to hide, doesn't really want to be seen. So there's kind of like this inner struggle. Um, and a woman who has lost touch with a little bit of self-trust. Um, you probably have been someone who's been on a spiritual path for some time, and you have a huge heart. You know, you are here to, you have a purity of heart, and you really want to make a difference in the world and bring whatever is your heart is calling for you to do out into the world in a bigger way. So if this resonates with you, I would like to invite you to a feminine wisdom circle that I'm weaving together. Um, this is going to be a preview, and it's an experience, just a little taste of an immersive one-day experience that I'm weaving together, which also will go on into an ongoing 3-month experience. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So this one-day experience is a chance for you to come and think of it as typing your name into one of those websites where it says you can find whether or not you have unclaimed money. So you would go to this website, you would put in your name to see if any of the different states have maybe a refund, a tax refund for you, or maybe a bank account you'd forgotten about, or a retirement account you'd forgotten about. And they're holding it for you in your name, just waiting for you to come and claim it. Well, this is the version of that where you have something inside you. You have a way of being. You are equipped with um, uh, an energetic and physical way of being in the world that is the most powerful, nourishing, connective way for you to be. But we've been trained away from that. We've been trained um, to not be in our bodies. Um, we've been trained to not embrace our sensuality. We've been trained to not embrace the fact that we're so deeply emotional. We've been trained to that it's easier, and maybe through training experiences that have been painful to be in our body, we might have escaped, we might have disassociated and just kind of like if you're like me, hang out kind of back here in the background. That's where I found that my energy was, up and out and back, kind of in observer mode. And I want I didn't know this was an option. I would look at other women and I would say, "Oh my goodness, how can they? Hey, how can they like so be so alive and so present?" Um, and I know that's possible, but why is it that I can't access that? Well, let me help you access that. Let me help you reclaim your feminine power and your birthright as a woman. Um, so if you might identify with this, from my personal story, I, growing up, received a message. I looked around me and I felt this ambition and this drive inside me to make things happen. And yet when I looked around me, I saw that most of the people who at the time that I was growing up in the early 70s were men. And I was like, wait, I'm not a guy. How can I be more like a guy? Because I want to match that drive. I want to express that in my life. I grew up as a tomboy, and I kind of rejected all the things that were feminine, the things that I saw that were feminine, not necessarily were feminine as I know them to be today, but were manifestations of a role that was expected for a woman to play. And so I rejected all of that. When I started, I had my first bleed, I hated it. I was like, why do I have to deal with this? You know, an 11-year-old kid, why can't I enjoy my childhood or the rest of my life? Why do I have to stop and handle this once a month? You've got to be kidding me. And I really bought into that curse, monthly curse. And for some reason, I received the message that women were inferior. Um, and for whatever reason, that's what I received growing up. And so I did everything I could to be a woman, but not be a woman. You know, be a woman who had masculine traits, be a woman who had masculine abilities, or um, and those were, quite frankly, the people who I could see around me who were making things happen. They were doing it in a typically masculine way. So that's how I thought you did it. My mentors, in the corporate setting, were all guys. And so I just followed along thinking that's how you do it. You're supposed to look toward somebody so you don't have to reinvent the wheel and just repeat. It wasn't until, this has been a slow process over like 16 years of self-discovery for myself, but it wasn't until this last year that I really came home. And what I mean by coming home is coming back in, coming home, actually resting myself in my body, in my own body, my own temple. Imagine how many years I've been outside or hovering around and not really inhabiting, not really being present for other people, but not being present for myself, which affects your ability to be present with other people. And so I would love to invite you, if this resonates with you, if you are feeling called to be able to know yourself more deeply, if you're being called to work with your nature, work with the gifts you were given instead of against them, which is what I had always done. If you're being called to align more with what is natural for you, and if you're ready to reclaim a sense of power, to really stand for what it is you want in your life, if you're ready to be seen and be able to receive attention and attract opportunities to you, attract situations, attract attention, attract connection, rather than always being on this hamster wheel of pushing to make things happen, then I'm inviting you to join me on Saturday, January 3rd. This is going to be we're going to have an in-person event. It's going to be from 10 a.m. Central Time to 12 p.m. in Bentonville, Arkansas. And I'll put the details down below. I want you to join me. I'm inviting you in to join in with other sisters who are really learning, relearning, reclaiming their feminine power. And this is an introduction into a feminine wisdom circle that will be held on January 12th. And that will be a full day immersion where we will be coming home to ourselves. We will be reclaiming our feminine presence, our feminine essence, our feminine power. And we'll also be letting go of some vows we've taken, vows to be invisible, vows of perfection. And we're doing this with some embodiment practices, awareness practices. You can think of it as meditation, but a very different kind of meditation, a meditation for women, which is definitely different than mind meditation. And we will do this also with, we'll touch on mind, body, and spirit. So we'll also do emotional freedom technique, which helps your nervous system acclimate and rest and relax into a new state, especially into a state where you've been triggered before. And on the inside you have all this inner turbulence, but on the outside you're trying to keep it together. We'll clear that out so that that's more, your body and your nervous system doesn't have that natural response to resist. Um, and connection, just connection with other women. And there is magic that happens when we come together as women. There's a multiplication effect. We learn from each other. It's almost as if we absorb wisdom from each other. Like you are transmitting, without even knowing it, without having to do anything. It's almost like your presence transmits messages for other women and them as well. Your story, your sharing transmits wisdom for other women, and same for you from other women. And so I'm just inviting you to join me to experience this, to really reclaim this, or beginning just to get a taste on Saturday the 6th, a taste of what it's like to be back in your body and to see another woman back in her body, and you see the visible difference. Subtle yet very distinctive shifts that make all the difference in the world. So looking forward to seeing you there. If you know of a woman who comes to mind when you're watching this and you're like, oh, she's got to see this, then please go ahead and connect and share this with her. I also want to share with you that there'll be an online version of this that's going to be taking place. And if that's something that you're interested in, it's not going to be taking place on Saturday, but I am interested in doing one. So just give me a message below and I'll make sure that you're included when I announce the date and the time for that. All right, I hope to see you there on Saturday.